Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twit.
Hi, this is Leo Laporte, and this is my Tech Guy podcast. This show originally aired on the Premier Networks on Sunday, June 16th, 2019. This is episode 1601. Enjoy. Oh, hi. I didn't see you come in. Welcome. Leo Laporte here, the Tech Guy. Yes, it's time to talk about computers and the internet and home theater and digital photography, about smartphones, about smartwatches. You know, all the G-Jaws and Gimcracks. Or is it Gim-Jaws and G-Crack? I don't know. You know, the doodads. That I know how to pronounce. It's the doodads that have invaded our lives and changed everything everywhere. That's what we talk about here. As long as it's got a chip in it, or yes, I don't even. That's not fair, because we talk about the internet and we talk about software. So I don't know what to say. As long as it uses technology, then we'll talk about it. Our phone number 8888 Ask Leo 888-827-5536. That's toll free from anywhere in the U.S. or Canada, but you can still call from anywhere in the world, because you just use Skype out or something like that. They can call a phone number, and it's a toll-free number. It shouldn't cost you anything. And that's good, because we probably keep you on hold for a little while. We do that. 8888 Ask Leo. There's a website. If you hear something and you want to know more, you don't have to write it down. You don't have to make a note of that. You just make a note of this, techguylabs.com. That's the website. It's free, open to all. There's no sign up even. You just go, and there's a good search, and you can find anything. And every show is there. This is episode 1601. And we even put audio and video of the show afterwards, so you can read the answer, look for the links, click the links, or listen if you want. What happened at Target yesterday? Target's cash registers went down for several hours, leaving customers stranded, because so it's a national computer system, and when it went down, nobody could check out. So people just abandoned their carts all over. I guess there were some people who said, but I need these diapers or whatever. And some clerks, valiant clerks, pulled out their smartphones, and I guess after a little labor, some people said it took. There was a lot on Twitter about it. It took about an hour to check out, but thanks to a heroic staff member who checked one person out. Employees handing out chips. I don't know. I guess that's like, here, we'll keep your basket here for you till this cash register comes back. Starbucks, the Starbucks inside of Target's handing out drinks. Customers offering their baskets to strangers, trying to hold all their items. No riot or anything. In some stores, Target employees got around the problem by keying in barcodes on their personal phones. One customer in Las Vegas offered thanks to a worker who went through the trouble for her. It took me almost an hour to check out just now, she tweeted. Honestly, the only reason you still got my money was because of employee Kavarian at the Blue Diamond Las Vegas location. He manually entered in every one of my items and was patient. Yikes. It was Lydia tweeting yesterday. Target says, after an initial but thorough review. Oh, when they begin that way, something is up. Like, maybe the rest of this sentence won't be completely forthright. After an initial but thorough review, we can confirm this was not a data breach or security-related issue, and no guest information was compromised at any time. Yeah, that happened a few years ago. We appreciate all of our store team members who worked quickly to assist guests. They didn't say why it happened. As somebody in the chat room is saying, Kisco Kid, a single point of failure? I guess so. It makes you long for the days when each cash register in every store was completely independent. The worst thing that could happen is it would run out of paper tape. But you can understand why a modern giant chain would want inventory control. They would want centralized checkout. But man, maybe they forgot to pay their internet bill, Mr. Quest says in our chat room. Yeah, maybe. Something. This week, Facebook will announce its own money. And they're going to call it Libra coin or global coin, but I think it should be Zuckbucks, honestly. Right? Wouldn't that's what, yeah, Zuckbucks. It's not a first. Canada Tire, big chain, kind of the Target of the North, had Canadian Tire bucks, and you could turn them. There were paper vouchers. I mean, this is more like Bitcoin. This is a cryptocurrency, and according to the Wall Street Journal, Facebook will announce this next week. They have made deals with the big credit card companies. MasterCard, Visa. They have apparently done a deal with Uber. You'd be able to use Zuckbucks to pay for your ride. They had talked to other coins, but ended up just saying, well, we'll do it ourselves. We'll do it ourselves. Although, apparently, according to the Wall Street Journal, they have hired several dozen blockchain experts. That's the mathematical technique that you use to create these so-called cryptocurrencies. And they're paying each of them several million a year. It's Facebook. They can afford it. But man, why didn't I learn about blockchain when I was a kid? Because it didn't exist. Leo, you had to learn about abacuses when you were a kid. Blockchain is it was all started with Bitcoin, and a guy or people, we don't know, anonymous, named Satoshi Nakamoto, that was probably a pseudonym, who wrote a paper saying, you know, all currency is essentially imaginary, right? Currency. What they call fiat currency. Fiat's the Latin word for let there be, faith. It's a base root word for faith, right? Fiat currency rests on the good faith and solvency of the government that issues it. You know, in many years past, they tied American bucks to the silver and the gold, right? Remember, that was a big controversy in the 60s when they took it off the gold standard. But the gold standard, honestly, is kind of a fiat thing itself, right? Because the industrial value of an ounce of gold is certainly not several $1,000s. It's still made up. You know, it's perceived value. But what is the value of a piece of paper with George Washington's pictures on it? Well, we all kind of agree. It's it's $1. You can get half a Big Mac or something. I don't know. We all agree, sort of. And but more importantly, we agree to use it. We could pay our taxes with it. We can buy goods. We can go to Target and try to buy things. Although if you think about it, if you use a credit card at Target to buy something, there's no dollar bills involved, are there? In fact, there's probably not even any money, really. It's just bits being exchanged. Your employer pays you in bits. Here, we're going to put 1 million bits in your account. And then you use those bits and you give some to Target. Often, at no point is it ever tied to gold or cash or anything, right? It's just bits. People don't like to talk about this because it's scary to think about. And when you see countries like Venezuela with hyperinflation, where those bits get devalued to the point where they're really not even worth as much as a bit, you can kind of see why it's important that the full faith and credit of the United States government. So Zuckbucks is like that. The whole idea of blockchain, this thing that Nakamoto invented, is it's complicated, but essentially you create the coins out of nothing by doing hard math problems, which interestingly get harder as more coins are created. There will be a limit at some point. We'll have created all the Bitcoin that needs to exist, and then it will stop. But in the meantime, Bitcoin miners, people running these Bitcoin computers, do two things. They create new coins by solving math hard problems, and they maintain the most important part of this, which is the blockchain. It's a ledger. So your bank on its computers knows how much money you have in the account. Again, just a bunch of bits, but they know, and they loan it out, more bits, and they keep track of it in a ledger. Used to be a book, now probably just a computer program. Well, Bitcoin has a ledger, has to. You have to know who has what and who gave what, and all of that stuff happens in the ledger, but it's different. It's not centralized into any government or bank. It's decentralized to all the Bitcoin miners. They're the ones who are keeping the ledger. And anybody who wants to can download the ledger, see how much you have, how much they have. It's all done by anonymous numbers, but all those accounts are visible. All the transactions from day one are visible. That's what Zuckbucks will do. It'll be an interesting attempt. A number of people have bowed out of Zuckbucks, the Global Coin Consortium. It does include Visa, MasterCard, PayPal, and, of course, Facebook. If you want to be a node operator, one of the people that keeps the ledger, you need to put in 10 million real bucks, US bucks. And you have to agree that Facebook will get the data of these payments, that Facebook will know what you buy. And that makes some people a little bit nervous, rightly so. So watch as they announce this. It'll be, we think next week. And you'll be encouraged as a Facebook customer to get these, to put in real-ish American dollars and get some Zuckbucks, and then you can use it for stuff. It's unclear what. But eventually, maybe buying stuff at Target, as long as the computers are up. All right, we're going to go take your calls here. I got to get the phones fired up. 8888, Ask Leo, fire up. And your call's coming up. Blockchain consultant Maya Zahavi told CoinDesk she's concerned about the Global Coin Consortium with Visa, MasterCard, PayPal, and Facebook. MasterCard, PayPal, and Facebook could create a system with limited accountability, yet ample power to exclude individuals from commerce. It creates a silo of data rails without any guarantees about data sharing among the different participants and the computation being done to access the services, meaning some computation being done could kick you out of Uber, Facebook, and Shopify if you become a risk management issue. Do we want to give Facebook more power? Plus, what about people like me? I don't have a Facebook account. I can't use Zuckbucks. What am I going to do? Who is that? Who could that be? It's a miracle. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you Kimmy Schaffer, our phone angel. Kimmy, don't take no Schaffer. Hello, Kimmy.
Good morning. Kimmy.
You said that in a kind of interesting way.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I was putting on my best
good morning.
Sexy radio voice.
Yeah, I know. I got a chill. Whoa. Good morning. How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm good.
Good.
I was going to spill my coffee, but I'm good.
Don't do that.
So you've been here since the wee hour of the morning collecting questions for the tech guy to take. Mm-hmm. And I should start with somebody really fun. Who do you think?
How about Manny in Vero Beach? His wife has a Huawei. I had to look up how to spell that.
Huawei.
Huawei.
Huawei. Well, you spelled it perfectly.
I had to look it up.
I wish sometimes every once in a while you do a phonetic spelling. It would have been funny.
I spelled it in the Google, W-A-W-A-Y,
and they
to
knew.
See what would come up.
The Google knew.
The Google knew.
The Google knows all. It's Huawei.
Yeah.
Huawei. All right, thank you.
So I learned something new today.
Well, you don't need to memorize it because they're not allowed to sell anything in the U.S.
Okay, so I guess that's why he needs to replace it.
That's why he wants help, yeah. Hello, Manny.
Hello, Leo. Happy Father's Day, and thank you, Kim.
Happy Father's Day. I forgot to say that to everybody.
Yeah, well, you just said it now.
Happy
the
Father's Day.
whole world heard you.
Yeah.
Yep.
I got a phone call from my daughter wishing me Happy Father's Day. That was nice.
Awesome.
Yeah. So what can I do for you, Manny?
Well, from my wife. She's really sad because she loves her camera on her Huawei Mate 9, and she don't know how much longer the Huawei phone is going to last her. She does. The camera is something important, and dual SIM.
Yeah.
She needs dual SIM.
So Huawei is a Chinese company that the U.S. government has deemed is a security concern, partly because the ownership of Huawei is unclear. Huawei's always said it's owned by the employees. They can't really demonstrate that. The man who runs Huawei is a former member of the Chinese People's Liberation Army. And it's thought that Huawei might have Chinese government money behind it. There's also the issue of any company that runs in China is ultimately going to be have to do whatever President Xi says they should do. So initially the concern, and this actually started way back in 2012, when was it the U.S. Department of Commerce, I think it was, warned U.S. tech companies about buying gear from 3 Chinese companies, Huawei, Xiaomi, and ZTE. Last year, ZTE was basically put out of business by government restrictions on their stuff, and Huawei is the target this year. The government has now ordered that no U.S. Official U.S. government office can buy gear from Huawei. They've encouraged our carriers, our local carriers. Actually, I think they've made it illegal for them, and they're encouraging our allies around the world not to use Huawei's networking equipment for their 5G, their next generation cell phone installations. And they even got to, when Huawei had a deal last year to distribute these incredible phones they make. They're the number 2 phone manufacturer in the world. They would probably have been number 1 had this not happened. These great phones that they make, they had a deal with at&t to distribute them, and the government whispered in the ear of at&t, we think, and they pulled the plug. And Huawei was I remember a year ago at CES, the chairman of Huawei, or the U.S., I guess he was the U.S. Guy at Huawei, was hopping mad on stage, saying, and ever since they haven't sold their phones in the U.S. But this most recent restriction, President Trump signed it into, I think, an executive order a couple of weeks ago, means that most companies that are doing business with Huawei have pulled out, including the one that you care about most, which is Google. Google initially said we are not going to offer our any of the Google features to Huawei for putting inclusion in their phones. And most importantly, the Huawei would stop getting patches, security patches. They relented a little bit. The government relented and said, okay, 3 more months. So you got 3 months for that Mate 9. But at some point, and I would keep watching the news because President Trump's confused the issue a little bit. Initially, in one sentence, actually, he said in one sentence, it's a security concern, but if we have a trade deal with China, then everything will be fine.
Yeah.
Which is it? Is it a security concern or is it a trade issue? Is this part of our trade war? What is going on? And it's not clear. I've never seen proof from anybody that Huawei is dangerous in any way, and I certainly don't think a Huawei computer. They make really nice computers. By the way, they've put their most recent MateBook on hold as well. Because without the U.S. market, it's, I mean, they're big around the world. And of course, they're number 1 in China, but it's, they kind of count on the U.S. market. And by the way, not just for sales of their devices, but for parts. Because guess what? They buy a lot of parts from U.S. companies. They use operating systems from U.S. companies, Microsoft and Google. They're a big customer of ours. And so this is a mess. I think she can safely keep using her Mate 9. You're right. They have great cameras, Leica cameras in them. They're the best cameras on the market today. But she should probably start thinking about a replacement. Dual SIM is a little tricky. Why does she need dual SIMs?
Because just for her business, she's a realtor, and she has
2 different carriers.
Exactly.
Yeah, so dual SIMs will narrow it down a little bit. That's mostly not used in the U.S., mostly used overseas. In India, for instance, where they have a different carrier every 5 miles, you have to have multiple SIMs as you walk around. I'm not sure what I'd recommend with a great camera and dual SIMs. Let me look, and I'll tell you when we come back. I think I would probably recommend the Samsungs, but I don't know if Samsung, because I use a S10 Plus and I love it. Yeah. It's a little more expensive than the Mate was.
Yeah, well, that's only because I buy them a few years behind.
So you could get like an S7 or 8, and but they're still great cameras. Although this S10, man, let me see if Galaxy, if there's a version of Galaxy, they sell them all over the world. So I bet there's dual SIMs. Yeah, if you got a region, a different region of the Galaxy.
It's like my OnePlus has 2 SIMs, but I don't use the OnePlus.
Right, the OnePlus, that's a good one, and they have a pretty good camera, don't you think?
My OnePlus 5, it's all right. Yeah, it's all right, but it's not like her camera at all.
Yeah, yeah. But, that Mate camera is amazing, and that's.
Do do you have anything in your drawer that you'd be willing to sell? So that'd be my way of supporting your.
Oh,
your
aren't you
channel,
sweet?
You know.
Let me see here. Wait a minute. Let me see. I don't think I have anything in my drawer that you'd want, to be honest with you. There's an iPhone XR. This one's pretty beat up. What is that? That's a Google. It's not a dual SIM though. Google Pixel.
Oh, the Pixel's awesome though. That camera's
Yeah, but this is an
awesome.
old Pixel. I don't know what generation this is. This is made by Huawei, I believe. Ironically, they made one of the Google's phone. Oh, here's a Huawei. This is a P20. That's a very nice Huawei.
Oh, that's a good phone.
I know. I like this. Oh, this is the old Nexus 6. Look how they called this Shamu because it was the size of a killer whale. None of these would you want. This one's crazy. This is a computer. This is it looks like a little mini computer. And I think this is the Gemini from Planet Computer. It does have dual SIMs, but I wouldn't recommend it. And then this Axon is pretty old too. That's CTE. I'm full of Chinese phones. Well, even the iPhone's made in China. What are you going to do? No, I'm afraid I've already disbursed all of my decent phones because between my kids who break phones every 5 minutes and our employees, I think all the phones have gone out. John took. What did you get? You got the Pixel 2. Yeah. Okay, that was for his neighbor. So I'm sorry I don't have anything for you, but I would say that there are some good dual SIM choices, and I would go with Samsung at this point. Honestly, okay. I think Samsung or the new OnePlus, which is a little expensive, but the new OnePlus is reputed to have a very good phone. You know who would know this is Jason Howell. He's been using this new OnePlus. What is it? The 7?
The 7?
Yeah, 7 Pro.
7 Pro.
Yeah. I think it has an excellent camera, but nothing is as good as the Huawei or the Google Pixel or the Samsung S10. Those are the 3 best cameras out there in Android anyway.
Now, there's different versions of the S10, right?
Yes, and they have dual SIM S10s if you look online. The only issue with that is it'll be Middle East or Europe. It won't be the American model. So make sure it'll work with her carrier's radios frequencies. But I've often done that, bought unlocked phones from different regions, and that's one good way. And I think the OnePlus might not be a bad idea. She's a realtor, though. She needs a good camera, huh?
Yes.
I think the S10, okay, the reason I love the S10 camera is it's got 3 lenses. I think all phones will do this soon. A wide, a telephoto, and a medium. And I get great low-light pictures. I love this phone. I think it's just spectacular. So I think
S10 it is, huh?
Yeah, I think I would recommend the S10, but the dual SIM might be an issue for her. Abuelsamid is here. He is principal researcher at Navigant Research. He is officially our car guy. Hi, Sam.
Hi, Leo. How are you today?
Look at that car behind you today.
Yeah,
with a flat.
That is it actually did have a flat. That is the Toyota TS050 Le Mans prototype that was running in the 24 Hours of Le Mans over the past during the past week.
You said that's your race. That's the one you like.
That's the one I like. Yes,
yeah.
I like watching sports car racing.
Yeah,
and so watching this morning when I got up, watching the last couple of hours of the race this morning, an incident happened that brought up today's topic, which is probably the most underappreciated bit of technology on cars, which is your tires. With all the other fancy electronics that we have in cars, ultimately none of it matters if you don't have good tires, that interface between the car and the road, your tires.
That makes sense. It's all rolling on the tires where the rubber meets the road, as they say.
Exactly.
And I have a Tesla Model X, which I've had for 3 years. It's on its 3rd set of tires. It only has 20,000 miles on it.
That's what happens when you put too much torque in a car. You wear out the tires.
So I'm kind of like I'm driving one of those Toyotas Le Mans kind of, right?
Yeah. So excuse me, what happened with one of the Toyotas this morning was in the last hour of the race, they got a puncture in one of the tires, and this happens.
Well, don't they just pull into the pit and get a new tire? I mean,
Well, they do, and you know what? Like all modern cars, they have a tire pressure monitoring system in these race cars, and they're shooting telemetry back to the pits all the time, so that the engineers in the pits and the crew know what's going wrong. So if the car is going to be coming into the pits for an unplanned pit stop, they know what to expect.
Yeah.
In this case, they knew that there was a puncture on the car. They knew one of the tires was going flat.
Yeah.
However, there was a mix-up.
Uh-oh.
Because they have a tire pressure monitor in each tire.
Yeah.
They thought the puncture was in the right front tire. It was actually in the left rear tire.
They changed the wrong tire.
So the car came in, they swapped out the right front tire in under 10 seconds. Car went back out onto the track, and it was still showing the same warning code, and the driver was complaining. He had to come back in. He had to go slowly around for a whole lap of this 8.5 mile circuit, and then come back in. And to be on the safe side, they swapped all 4 tires.
Yeah, that's
and
what they should have done.
40
in the first
minutes
place.
left in the race.
Oh man.
Yeah. Well, they don't. You generally don't. You don't want to change anything unless you have to. Because there's an increased risk there.
No,
you take off a
that's
tire,
right.
you put it back on. Something might.
I
get
have my lucky
misthreaded.
socks, and as long as the team keeps winning, I keep wearing the same pair of socks. So I understand the logic behind it.
I'm sure Lisa appreciates that. But so it reminded me that this is something that as drivers we all need to be cognizant of, is the condition of our tires.
Don't they all nowadays? Don't they all have sensors in them similar to this?
Everything built since 2008, tire pressure monitoring systems have been mandatory, and that's a good thing. But like what happened with the Toyota, sometimes things can go awry, because these are little radio frequency transmitters that are in the valve stem of your wheel, that it's sending the tire pressure signal back to a computer in the car. And so, those sensors can fail, and all kinds of other things can happen. So it's a good idea, even with those tire pressure sensors, to once a month or so grab one of these, little tire pressure gauge. You can buy these at your local auto parts store, or even drugstores and Target and wherever, assuming their cash registers are working. For anywhere from $5 to $10, and once a month, just go out. Check all the pressures on your tires.
Don't trust the sensors, because you might have a flat in the wrong tire.
Well, yeah, but there's also other reasons. If you're going to do that, that also gives you an opportunity to do a quick visual inspection of your tires. Yeah, because as you can see on the screen behind me here, I've got it. There's a tire with a bulge in the sidewall, and there's another one that has a big crack in the sidewall. Yeah, the one on the other side has a bulge in it, which happens. Sometimes if you smack a pothole really hard, it can cause physical damage to the tire, and that bulge can eventually fail.
And the last thing you'd want is a blowout at 70 miles an hour. That's terrifying.
Yeah, and we have a lot fewer blowouts today than we used to. Tire construction is much better than it used to be, and again, because we've got the pressure monitors, we can often get a warning of a low tire before it gets to the point where it's going to blow out, and you can pull over safely. And if you do get a warning, it's a good idea, when that little light comes on in the instrument cluster, pull over somewhere safe, pull the tire pressure gauge out of your glove box, and just do a quick check just to make sure, figure out which one it is, and see if it's something that if you might need to get roadside assistance, or change the tire yourself, or or if there's a tire repair place nearby, just pull in and get them to fix the tire for you.
Let me ask a question, because I'm seeing people talk about airless tires. Like, I think somebody's selling now.
They're not selling them yet. So this is a technology that Michelin's been working on for, I think they first showed it publicly maybe 10, 12 years ago. And it's been nicknamed the Tweel. And if you watched the second season of Westworld, those off-road vehicles that you saw they had these types of tires, these experimental tire wheels on them. And what it is, it's a non-pneumatic tire, and it's got a sort of a honeycomb structure. So you have the outer rim that has the tire tread, and there's a honeycomb structure that gives you the compliance. That's it right there. Yeah. That they actually, so they do sell them for some off-road applications like golf carts and things like that.
But is it going to be as as comfortable, as smooth a ride as a pneumatic tire?
Well, that's why it's got that structure on there to give that compliance. So
Little
when you
give.
go little bumps, frost heaves, so you have some give. And Michelin just announced a deal with General Motors about a week or so ago that they are actually going to develop these for passenger vehicle applications starting in about 2024 or so.
No more flat tires and no more blowouts. Wow.
No more, yeah. So they will still the tread will still eventually wear out, and you need that tread when you're driving on wet or snowy surfaces to evacuate the water out so the tire can actually be in physical contact with the road to get traction. But yeah, this is an interesting new concept that may eliminate the problem of tire blowouts eventually.
Well, you have to wonder what's taking them so long.
It's a matter of durability, making sure that the thing can actually last long enough.
Yeah. Did we maybe not have the materials or the science to make these in the past? Because this.
Yeah. So there, it's just a matter of making it so that it lasts long enough, and gives you the kind of performance capabilities that you need. Both for longitudinal and lateral grip. So for longitudinal for accelerating and braking, and lateral for steering, so the car can turn properly. So
a little pet peeve of mine, and we just bought a Bolt, a Chevy Bolt, and to save weight, there's no spare tire at all in it.
Right.
Little pet peeve of mine.
This is increasingly common on a lot of new cars to save weight, because the spare and the jack and everything, that's about 30 to 40 pounds of weight that they're trying to save. And so they just put an inflator kit in the back for emergencies.
And you drive flat for a little while. Yeah. Well, that's life. Hey, Sam, it's great to talk to you. The car guy, principal researcher at Navigant Researcher, Sam Abuelsamid. Thank you for stopping by, and come back next week, will you?
I'll be here.
All right. By the way, Toyota came in second, but there was a Toyota vehicle in first, too, at Le Mans. So,
I wasn't going to say that.
No spoilers. Spoiler alert. I'm sorry. Oh, man. Come on. Do people really record that and watch it later? 24-hour race. It's a long race to record and watch later.
It is.
Yeah.
But you can also get it streaming. That's how I was watching it.
That's cool.
That's cool. Yeah, I paid for the streaming package.
What a wild end! That is just bizarre. Wow.
Yeah, it was. 40 minutes from the end, the car was up by 2 minutes over the second place Toyota, and after this happened, it fell back about a minute behind and couldn't catch
positions,
up.
Yeah.
Yep.
So it still came in second, and Toyota was the winner. Was this a hybrid?
It was, and one of the interesting things about these LMP1 hybrids is that over the past, I think the first ones ran in 2011 or 2012. Since the last non-hybrid winners of Le Mans, these cars running, this last couple of years, are using half as much fuel to run the same distance and getting higher speeds. They're running faster and using half as much fuel as cars 10 years ago.
Wow.
Is
it hybrid like a Prius would be hybrid, where it's an electric motor running the wheels, and then they have a little gas engine charging the electric motor?
Well, there's not so little gas engine. It's about a 700 horsepower, 750 horsepower V8 in the back, and electric motors on the front and rear axles.
And what gives them more efficiency? Is it regenerative braking, or?
Yeah, a lot of regenerative braking. It has a significantly larger battery than what you get in a Prius, with a lot more power. So these things are, between the gas V8 and the hybrid system, it's producing about 1,000 horsepower.
Wow. I have to say, I love when I drive that Bolt, I drive it in the one button, the one pedal driving mode, where it will come to a full stop with regen. And I really think that's a great way to drive. And
it is.
Yeah. It's natural for me. Of course, I've been driving a Tesla for 3 years, so I'm kind of used to it, but I just love it.
Yeah. And one of the other interesting details about the Toyota hybrids, and also previously the Porsche and Audi hybrids that were also running before they pulled out of Le Mans a couple of years ago, is one of the ways that the Toyota hybrids have an advantage over the non-hybrid cars is they have pit lane speed limits. They're only allowed to go 50 miles an hour in the pits for safety reasons. So with the non-hybrid cars, when they stop for fuel and tires, they actually shut off the engine, and then when they drop it off the jacks, they have to restart it. And so that takes about a second, a second and a half.
Yeah.
The hybrids, because they step on the accelerator and it just goes immediately from the electric power.
Full torque,
and it
right
takes off. Yeah, so every pit stop, they save about a second and a half. Wow. And then the extra power that they have, as soon as they come out of the pits and the speed limit goes away, then they can pick up another 5 seconds in that from that really extra
cool.
acceleration.
That is super, super cool. I really love that. Thank you, Sam.
My pleasure, Leo.
Happy Father's Day. We'll talk to you next week.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Bye-bye. Sorry, Reverend Dan Quince, but I will ask him next time. I know with the regenerative braking on my Tesla, when you take your foot off the pedal, if it slows you sufficiently, the brake lights will come on. So even if you don't have your foot on the brake pedal, the brake lights come on. I don't know about the backup lights being connected to the motion of the wheels, but they could do that, right? Get your motor running. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Head out on the highway, but don't forget to take the tech guy with you. I like the wind in my hair. I'll just go stick my head out the window and let my ears flap, if you don't mind. Jim in Cameron, Wisconsin. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Hey, Jim. Jim, are you there? Jim must have passed out. Let's try another call. Sarah in Los Angeles. Hi, Sarah.
Hi. I just want to say that I've been listening to you forever.
Thank you. Thank you.
I've been on the computer since Apple was Mac of about $10,000, but as a designer, I went to Ventura Publisher on a PC.
Oh, wow.
For $3,000. So I catch up the rest of my career.
So do you do a page layout for magazines or newspapers, or what do you do?
I used to have my own ad agency.
Nice.
And
so you got into desktop publishing right at the beginning.
Yes, I did.
Cool.
We had at the college that I went to, the art college I went to, we had to take a math test in order to qualify to use a computer.
That's so silly. Well, at least they're good at math. That's not a bad thing. Very useful. Not so much with using a computer. I guess maybe you have to convert pica to points or something. I don't know.
I have no idea because I flunked out. I didn't get to use the computer.
What? Oh, that's ridiculous. Isn't that silly?
I ended up teaching graphic design on the computer to students. But, anyway.
Of course.
The reason I'm calling, I have two reasons. I gave your caller the first one. I'm going to Vietnam and Cambodia in November.
So jealous. That's supposed to be a great trip. You're going to have a wonderful time.
I have no idea. I mean, I've been to China. I've been to Europe. I have no idea what I need to bring with me other than a plug that goes into Vietnam and Cambodia outlets. Yeah,
so most electronics devices these days, and you can see if you can get a magnifying glass out, look on the power supply. And I would recommend before you travel doing this for everything and see what the voltage ratings are. If it's 110 to 240, then it will work with whatever power you run into anywhere in the world. There are some devices, though, curling irons and hair dryers, blow dryers often do not support
this. I'm only interested in my computer.
But your electronics almost always will do all of it. But I would still check because you don't want to. You could damage it if you put it on a 220 circuit and it didn't support it. Usually just blow a fuse, but you don't want to damage it. Then, as you figured out, the plugs are different. So it's easy enough to get you go online or actually Apple sells them. Get a travel adapter that fits Vietnam and Cambodia. And that means you're good.
Is that a different travel converter than in Asia, China?
I think they're all the same, but I am not an expert on this, so it's a good idea. You can just Google Vietnam, Cambodia plugs, power plug, and you'll or power adapter, and you'll see the plugs. But I believe it's all the same as China, But you never know because remember these colonies. Vietnam was a French colony, so they may, for crazy reasons, still have a French adapter, right? I just don't know. I know.
Now, should I leave my laptop home and just take my iPhone and camera, or should I leave my camera home and take my laptop and phone?
Well, that is a decision only you can make. I have to say, I like to travel light. Depends on how I'm traveling. If I'm on a cruise, I'll bring a trunk. I'll bring everything, tripods, lights, camera, everything, because why not? But if you're going from hotel to hotel, or little short hop flights, lighter is always better. And they're often, and especially within country, severe restrictions on carry-on weights and luggage weights. So you got to do that research and then decide. I like to have a laptop because do you like to take pictures?
Well, I'm a professional fine art painter now.
Oh, so you're going to bring your easel and your oils?
No. No. I'm not going to. I'll do that when I get back.
Yeah. So pictures are important.
What I'm doing is I'm taking pictures of things I can work from.
Yeah. Photos are very important then. So.
And so is Facebook. No,
Yes, and let's not forget Facebook. So you've got to show people how fun your life is. What good is social media if you can't make people jealous of your fabulous life? So, so I bring a laptop. Well, it really depends on your workflow. I've been trying to figure out how I can just bring an iPad for photography, but I still really need to bring a laptop. I like to have a laptop with me. You will be able to access Wi-Fi everywhere. As far as your phone goes, you're going to have to it depends on your carrier. If you're on T-Mobile, they will give you slow but decent access everywhere for free to data. That's a very nice feature because you go out in the streets of Ho Chi Minh City one night and you get lost. It's really nice to be able to pull out your phone, say, how do I get home? And get directions. So or even just what's the best restaurant around here? I need a McDonald's. And
I solved the lost problem in China by taking a picture of the street signs where I wanted to go back to.
Well, that's another reason to take a phone these days. Google now has Lens built into its camera if you have an Android phone, and you can point it at the signs and read them. You could point it at instructions in the mass transit and read it, and that's. Wow. And I think Google Translator or Bing Translator is a huge boon when you get to these countries because you can, and people love it, by the way. Very few people don't like it. You open the translator, you say, I want to do English to Vietnamese, and you say, how much for the doggy in the window? And then it'll translate and say it out loud in Vietnamese, and they go, ooh! And then they say something in Vietnamese, and it translates it to English and says it out loud. It's incredible. We are in a magical time for traveling, I think. So you definitely want your phone. A lot.
I'm studying Korean, so I used it a lot with my Korean classes.
So you're very familiar, yeah. It's good to practice.
I have one other question.
Yes.
I recently bought for my studio a Bose radio with the CD player, so I can go old school.
Nice.
And they didn't have any that I could hook up wireless to headphones because I work on big canvases and I want to be able to move around and I can't stand the wires. And I don't want to blast everybody that's around me out with my music. So I was wondering, is there a dongle or something I can put in the back of a Bose that I can get a headset for, and I can just come away to John Denver?
Yes. They're not expensive. I'm going to assume the Bose. I haven't looked at the Bose lately, but I'm going to assume the Bose has some sort of analog out, like a headphone jack out.
Okay.
Not in and out, because then... John has our little Bluetooth dongle. They make these little Bluetooth dongles. You plug it into the Bose, and it will then you pair your headphones to the dongle, and it will take the audio out of the Bose and put it through the air, and you can dance around in your headphones.
Do I have to get a different headphone for the radio than I have for my TV?
As long as the headphones work with Bluetooth, no.
Okay.
But you do have to get this dongle because I don't think the Bose comes with Bluetooth built in. So you have to get something that adds Bluetooth. But these are inexpensive. They're about $25, $30. And you can pair your Bluetooth-enabled headphones to it. You can get it the other way, too. You can get a little dongle you plug your headphones into. that adds Bluetooth to your headphones. So you can really do it both. You can have it with regular headphones that don't do Bluetooth, but it's easier a little bit with Bluetooth headphones.
Okay,
if they're a sponsor of our podcast, but there's a headphone called Aftershocks that don't go in your ear. They go on your cheekbone, and they use bone conductance. They sound great, but it's nice because you can dance around and paint, but you could still hear people knock on the door or whatever.
That's awesome.
Yeah, those are Aftershocks. I love those. Hey, hold on a second, 'cause I have to run, but I want to help you with all your travel questions because I'm not good at math either. Sorry, Sarah. I just have to, sometimes duty calls. Commercials call.
Last question has.
By the way, I'm looking at Vietnam, and they have various different plugs.
Oh, good joy.
So, but you can get a kit. You can buy. I have had these, and I don't really like them. No, I'm good. You can buy a single adapter that has like switches and doohickeys on it, and you can all different ones. But I don't like those. I think it's a lot better to have. You can get a little bag that has all the different plugs you need. And the nice thing about bringing a laptop is then you can use the USB port on the laptop to charge the phone, so it simplifies things.
Can you explain, or how did the word dongle come into being? It's a goofy word.
What is the etymology of dongle?
Dongle.
Dongle is a crazy. Let me look and see what the etymology is. It came out. It was first used in the 1980s, and Merriam-Webster says it's an arbitrary formation. I think that means it comes from nowhere.
That's a great explanation.
Yeah, it's an arbitrary formation there. Dongle.
Okay, in other words, they don't know.
They don't know. No one knows. I have to go home and look in my OED. I don't have it with me, but here's an article. Mashable has an article. The curious origination of the term dongle. I'll have to talk about this. First appeared in New Scientist in 1981. But where did it come from? It's just I get it. It's a playful alliteration of the word dangle. Because dongles dangle.
Something dangling from your computer.
It's a thing that dangles is a dongle. What dongle? What dangles a dongle?
Okay, we know the guy with stones, so okay. Thank you very much. I really appreciate the information.
Thank you so much. It's a great conversation. Thank you. I really appreciate your calling, Sarah. Have a wonderful trip.
Thank you.
You're going to have so much fun. Bye-bye. The dongle dangles. Well, hey. How are you today? Leo Laporte here, the tech guy. Time to talk computers, the internet, home theater, digital photography, smartphones, smartwatches, what phone to take with you when you travel. That kind of thing. 8888 Ask Leo, the phone number. 888-827-5536. Website, techguylabs.com. We have a chat room. It's always running. Even when the show's not on, it's running. Because why not? What, are you going to shut it down? irc.twit.tv. And there's people in there all day and all night. irc.twit.tv. I was talking with Sarah about her upcoming travels to Southeast Asia and dongles, and she said, what for power? She said, well, where does the word dongle come from? And I said, I don't know. And I looked it up, and it says in the dictionary, an arbitrary formation. No etymology. But then there are a number of articles, actually, about the origin of the word dongle. First used, apparently, in New Scientist magazine in 1981. So it is a relatively new word. The guy who coined the term said, it comes from dangle. Dongles dangle, right? A dongle is the thing which dangles. Okay. So now we know. The Commodore PET computer, which was released in 1977, accepted a dongle-like device to give it more memory. And some say that's where the original word dongle came from. But you know now that a dongle is a thing which dangles off of your computer. Apple, of course, the leader in dongle technology, because their computers have the fewest ports and require more dongles to do things. The MacBook Pro, which can cost $7,000 or $8,000, has but 2 ports, just 2, but you can get dongles and attach them. And the literal translation, says Twisted Mister in our chat room, of dongle is a $99 Apple device. Yes, that's it. 8888 Ask Leo, the phone number. Now I think we got Jim in Wisconsin. Hi, Jim.
Hello, I'm here this time.
That's fine. I just put you on hold and figured something happened. So welcome. I'm sorry we kept you on hold so long. What can I do for you?
Well, running the GRC scan in my router, I suddenly see I have port 443 open.
Uh-oh.
And I also have, it seems my fans turn on my computer for no reason. So I'm wondering if I've got something on there that's connecting to the internet, mining Bitcoin or...
You have to have port 443, you have to have open, just like port 80 you have to have open, or you wouldn't be able to surf the internet.
Well, they all showed stealth before. They always used to show stealth, and 80 doesn't show open, but 443 shows red on his scan now.
Yeah. So let's talk about Shields Up, which is this scanner that my friend Steve Gibson created that you go to from within your network. And the idea is it's a router test. Routers are essentially firewalls. What happens when data comes in from the internet to a router is the router looks at it and says, well, if it knows how to handle it, that traffic that goes there. So it's routing. And similarly, when you start a conversation, and that's why it doesn't need port 80 and 443 open. I apologize. You're absolutely right. Because in the normal course of events, you wouldn't be talking to a website unless you had initiated the conversation. So what happens is port 80 is opened as you surf out, or port 443 for secure HTTP, as you surf out, and you begin a conversation, and then that conversation, the router goes, oh, yeah, there he is on his laptop talking to the internet. Any traffic that comes in from that port, I'm going to route it to there. But unless that conversation is open, you shouldn't have the port open. And Steve coined this term stealth, which I think is now widely used in the industry. There's a couple of ways a router can respond to traffic it doesn't expect. It can accept it, which is what you don't want it to do, because that means inbound traffic just goes right through to your network. That's not good. It can block it. It could say, no, fold its arms. I don't know what you want, but you can't come in. Or it could just not do anything and nothing goes through, but it doesn't say anything. That's called stealth. And the reason you generally want stealth is when bad guys are searching the net for places with vulnerabilities, if they get nothing back from an IP address, they don't know if there's a machine there or if it's not attached. So they just move on. If they get a, no, you can't come in, they go, oh, there is a machine there. I see. And they can even sometimes tell who said no. And now they can scan all the other ports, look for vulnerabilities, stuff like that. So stealth is always the best way to respond to any query from the internet, unless you're expecting it. Why is port 443 open? Well, it could be there's something going on in your network that has already opened a connection, secure connection to the internet. And I wouldn't say it's necessarily malware. I understand that's what you're thinking, is some bad guy has opened 443. But think about it, you might have, do you have a camera in your house connecting to like a Nest Cam or something? Well, those might well use 443 to talk to the server, right? They're uploading video.
I don't remember doing that. The cam's been here for a long time and it never showed before.
Well,
like I say, the fans on my desktop then will kick in seemingly for no reason. So that's why I wondered if something was running on there.
Yeah, and that you're right. That could mean there's some bad guy using your computer for his ill-gotten gains, or, that's the scenario that's not completely unreasonable. That maybe a Bitcoin script is running on your system, has opened up 443 to upload its results. And it's working as hard as possible, even when you're not using your system, so the fan spins up. But it's also possible that the system's getting hot for other reasons. And it could be just maybe you got dust in your computer. I think what you want to find out is you probably have multiple systems on this router.
Right.
You want to find out on the system that's got 443 open to the outside world, what's using it. So you can use Netstat, or there are programs you can run on your system to say, well, what ports are being open and what process, and it might not be as clear, but you can say what process is accessing port 443, and that would tell you a lot. If it's a process, if it's something like, so if it's a Bitcoin miner that has been put into your browser, the process will be your browser. It won't say, hey, it's a malicious Bitcoin miner. It'll be the browser. So, but your browser shouldn't be running, especially if it's closed. So,
you gotta have it open to contact his site. But you're saying if I shut everything down and then check the.
Yeah, you're gonna want to look at you're gonna want to use something like Process Explorer or Netstat to look at what processes are using that port. It's inbound 443, so that's interesting. You want to see what it's coming into, what's going on. I think it doesn't. I wouldn't be terrified at this point. I think that's it. It's a lot of times we say, these are the warning signs, and be aware of those. So I think it's good that you are aware of it and you know that it's a warning sign. I wouldn't necessarily go, oh my God, I'm infected, let's wipe the whole computer. You'd like to figure it out. Let me.
Well, the other part, even farther, is what I'm thinking, because I've heard on one of your shows. I think, somebody could put like an illegal server on mine.
That's right.
That's serving stuff to the internet, and that's even worse.
I'm going to ask the chat room what you should be looking for, because I'm not sure exactly how I would pursue this at this point.
Well, then you need to put a VPN on it that you have.
Yeah. You may also, if you have a good router, your router will have logs. More modern routers log traffic.
It's an Asus. So.
Yeah, Asus does that. So look at your router logs. Wireshark would be a good thing to run on your LAN to see who's talking to whom. Archandra says TCP dump might. It's time for you to probably do some higher end sleuth work. If you're not familiar with Wireshark, it's a free program you can download from the internet. You can use it and say, who's using port 443? And Wireshark will actually look at all the bits flying around your house to see where those bits are going. And that's probably the best way to check it. There is, somebody's saying it could be a VPN running on your router. Do you have a VPN on your router?
I think it's capable, but I don't think I've ever turned it on.
Maybe it got turned on. Anyway, there's, I don't know what it is, obviously, but I think that there are ways to check and see. And if you want to get some help, the chat room's pretty smart about all this. They've got some good ideas for you. Head over to irc.twit.tv. I wouldn't wipe the hard drive yet, but you're right to say, well, why is that fan spinning up? What's going on? And why am I not stealth? And for people who want to try their own system, Shields Up is a great free resource. I really commend Steve for creating it. Just go to grc.com. That's his website. Millions of people have used Shields Up. He says more than 102,880,726 Shields tested. And it's something I run anytime I set up a new network. I run Shields Up just to see who's talking. What you want, ideally, is a router that's in stealth, that just doesn't respond when bad guys come a-knocking. That's the best. 8888 Ask Leo. Lawn Dog in our chat room says, reset the router and start over. Look what the default settings are. That's a good idea if the router's doing it. But it might be something, it's the scenario you described could easily be malware sitting on your system that's opened up that port and said, talk to me. Typically, they won't use a canonical port like 443, but they like ports like 666, stuff like that. That's the old, is it the old Doom port? I think it is. 8888 Ask Leo. Let's, I'm looking at the chat room, see if we can get some more answers for our caller. And we'll take more of your calls right after this. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. He's back from Kurdistan. Chris Marquardt, our photo guy, joins us in about 10 minutes. He's got pictures to show on the radio, yes. And I can't wait to hear all about Kurdistan. And of course, I think it's too early to do our assignment review, but we'll talk about it. And some more photo tips, too. Our traveling photographer, Chris Marquardt. just around the corner. Back to the phones we go. 8888 Ask Leo. Phil in Arvada, Colorado. Hello, Phil.
Good afternoon, Leo. Happy Father's Day.
Thank you. Same to you.
Thank you. Just want to say you and Scott are my tech gurus, and I really appreciate both of you. You give good advice all the time.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Well, what can I do for you today?
Well, I know that Carbonite is a sponsor, and I've had it for several years, but it now seems more aligned with business use than with personal use.
Yeah,
and
they seem to have pivoted from consumer, and I think it's partly because it was very hard to make a living in the consumer space.
Right.
Although they still do it, obviously. You still have it. Yeah.
Yeah, well, the cost for renewal is going up, so that's
interesting.
Why. So my question is, I now have redundant Western Digital cloud-based drives, and I have all my precious pictures backed up on a digital card. So I'm wondering, and I know it's my choice as to whether or not I continue with the Carbonite, but I'm just wondering what your opinion would be as to whether or not I'm redundant enough on my backups to maybe not worry about Carbonite anymore.
Yeah, one thing that it's important to understand is that everybody has different requirements. In fact, one of the reasons Carbonite is pushing their business plans is because businesses have very different requirements from consumers. You know, a business is down if their data is down or their hard drives are down, or it's like Target. They can't check people out for 5 hours. That's a lot of revenue flying out the door every minute. So businesses are typically willing to spend a lot more money to get back up and running a lot faster. An end user, it's not the end of the world, right? And so the needs are different. You have to, and only you can assess what your need is. If you're a wedding photographer, you better have the best backup system ever invented, because you lose those shots, they're not staging the wedding again for your behalf. You're really in deep doo-doo. So again, the needs vary. I'll tell you what my friend Peter Krogh, and I've mentioned this before, but I think he's really kind of nailed it with this one. He is a professional photographer, does a lot of weddings, and is also an expert on digital asset management. He's written now the second volume, revised edition just came out, of something called the DAM book, D-A-M book. And that's a great book for photographers who want to understand all the ins and outs of managing your digital images. But of course, the concepts in this apply to any kind of digital data. And he put together a really great website for photographers, but again, I think it applies to everybody, with the Library of Congress. It's really about archiving data. It's DP, and I'm going to recommend a particular page on it in a second. DP for digital photography, bestflow.org. Flow in this sense is workflow, best practices for workflow. And if you look in the best practices section, there's a backup chapter. And this is where he coined the term that I continue to use this to this day, and I mention it all the time, 3-2-1 backup. And I think this will keep you in good stead, and you can decide how you want to apply it. But the idea is a backup is a second or ideally third, fourth, and fifth copy of the original. So he says 3 copies minimum of everything. Could be the original and 2 backups, could be the, it's up to you. But remember, if you delete any one of them, including the original, you're now down. So a lot of times people say, well, I have a backup, so I'm going to delete the original. Well, that's no longer the backup. That's the original. So very important to understand 3 copies. He likes 2 different forms of media. So you're not relying just on a USB drive or just on a CD, different kinds of media. That one's a soft rule. I think that's not necessarily important, but 2 different places, maybe, that's important. And that's the most important one. And that's where Carbonite can be helpful, but there are other ways to do it, which is one of them off-site. So you say you have Western Digital cloud backup. So that's off-site, right? Just like Carbonite is off-site. Yes, it's like Carbonite. That's off-site. That's fine.
I can access that through the internet pretty much any place I am, and they're both off-site. I mean, they both belong to Western Digital. I would even say, because I've seen services, even Western Digital services, go away, I would say maybe instead of 2 different media, 2 different services. It's like Google Drive or
or OneDrive, or in other words, don't rely on any one company for your offsite.
I have Google Drive as well.
Yeah, there you go. That's a great combination. It's nice to have storage local because it's fast to get a single file or all of them back. It's nice to have offsite too. There's a lot of finesses there. I'll tell you what I do. Lately, I've set this up, and I'm very happy with it. I have a network-attached storage device, so that's really massive storage. It's on my network, and I can back up to that from any machine on my home network. That is handy because it's not one drive per machine. I can have, for instance, all my photos from a variety of different machines in the photos folder, all my music from a variety of different machines, and all my media in a variety of different machines in one folder, all stored in the NAS. The NAS, because it's a 5-drive NAS, it's a Synology 5-drive NAS, has, 20 terabytes of storage. It's got a huge amount of storage.
Oh, wow.
And it's redundant. So even if one drive in there dies, I can hot swap a new one in, and I haven't lost any data. So that's my near term backup, right? My on-site backup. And by the way, that's not the only backup. I kind of overdone it. So hooked up to my main desktop, I have 2 massive drives. One's my data drive, and one's a Drobo that is constantly being synced. So I have 2 copies of everything right next to my computer. Then it's backing up to the network-attached storage in my closet. It's actually my wine cellar because it's cool. It's sitting there. And then, because I'm really, it's overkill, I also have all of that being backed up to a service Amazon runs. And if you're more sophisticated, this might be a good choice for you, called Glacier.
Glacier.
Amazon Glacier, the premise of it is it's very cheap, but it's very slow to restore. Like it might take a day to get your data from it. You have to request it. Because basically, I think what they're doing is they're moving it offline. But whatever, it doesn't matter. But it's really cheap. So the idea of Glacier is you put stuff there that you probably will never access, but it's kind of permanent offsite storage. So the Synology NAS that I use has a Glacier tool in it. I set it up, and now it backs itself up to Glacier. So now I have, I think, an impermeable solution. And by the way, I also still use Google Photos and all, they're lower quality. So I don't. But if I want the raw photos, I feel like I have a very good solution, which is 2 local backups, actually 3 local backups, but 2 attached to my computer, 1 on the network, and then 1 offsite. The other thing you can do with Synology, if you don't want to put it in somebody's cloud, you can get a second Synology, keep it at work, and they will synchronize with one another. So you can have your offsite, doesn't have to be in a third-party cloud. It could be in your own, in effect, offsite at work. Synology does that very nicely. I know, I really like that. It's a little expensive because you have to buy 2 NASs. But then you're not going to, that's in some ways better. Nobody else can see your stuff.
Okay. All right.
So that's what I do. But that's 3, 2, 1. That's really more like 5, 4, 1, 2, but you get the idea. And right, I love having massive storage because locally, because then I can save everything, save all my music, save all my audiobooks, I have more than 100,000 photos. I don't want to lose anything. And then I'll let my kids throw it out.
Okay.
You get the idea? So yes, you can easily replace carbonite. I don't know if you can do it as economically, but you can easily replace it.
I see. Okay. Thank you, Leo.
All right. Take care. Hey, Chris, what do you do to back up all your stuff?
I do have a Synology down in the basement. I do a cloud backup of my most important stuff, which is like 4 terabytes, I think, at this point.
Yeah, for me, it's about 2 terabytes. Yeah.
Yeah, and I have a Time Machine on.
Yeah, I have Time Machine
computers.
running. I didn't even mention Time Machine. Yeah, I also have Time Machine. I don't consider that real backup.
So I believe I have enough locations and numbers of copies. Yeah.
I love hearing that music because you know why? It means it's time for Chris Marquardt, our photo guy. Chris is a professional photographer who also is one of the best photography teachers in the world. He leads workshops all over the world, and he's now just back from Kurdistan, which is somewhere in the Stan region. I don't know. Hi, Chris. Welcome. We're looking at his photos, discoverthetopfloor.com. I'm looking at his photos from Kyrgyzstan, and just fun. Wonderful stuff.
It's a wonderful country. It's one of the stands, yes, one of the, I think, 7 stands that are out there. And it must be by far the most beautiful and the most free one as well. I mean, people there kept telling me, if you're born in any of the stands, Kyrgyzstan is the one to be born in. I was just, it exceeded all expectations.
Was it part of the Soviet Union?
It was, yes.
Okay.
Yes. You will still see some Soviet architecture there. You will still see Cyrillic lettering, and it's amazing how much this country, how much beauty this country has. I mean, we traveled from the big city, which is Bishkek, out to the Izikul Lake, which is compared to other lakes, probably one of the biggest ones out there. And we surrounded that, and we stayed in different areas. And they have all the climate zones. We had green rolling hills. We had high peaks, like 23,000 foot high peaks with snow on top. There's in one area, we got to a place that looked like it was in the Grand Canyon in Utah. I mean, just stunning. And then people out in the country, they live a nomad life. They have their yurts. They breed horses. Everyone seems to know how to ride a horse and own horses. It's a very, very beautiful and interesting place. And still there is infrastructure for tourism. So if you're there in the season, there will be tourists from other Central Asian countries. We decided to go there right at the beginning of the season, which meant we had pretty much everything for ourselves. So it was a really wonderful experience. So to the point where we decided on the spot to go there again next year. So it's already on the website. It's already there because, that was an easy decision. Very easy decision.
And we'll put a link to the website, of course, at our show notes, techguylabs.com. It's discoverthetopfloor.com, and also a link to Chris's slideshow of his images. You know what I like about these images is they're not beauty shots. They're more what I would call classic travel photography of people, places. You know, there's open air markets. There's a guy in a Smurf outfit. There's, and I really enjoy that, actually. I really like that.
That was something amazing. They have a children's day. Once a year, they have a children's day, which means kids get to ride the rides on the fairground for free. Every kid had ice cream in their hands. They were all smiling and happy, and the families were happy. They do this once a year. I've never seen this anywhere else.
I love it.
Wonderful.
But you also have the classic, beautiful landscape photography.
Oh yeah,
it's a really nice mix. Yeah,
amazing light, amazing mix of everything there. I was so positively surprised. I mean, I knew it was a beautiful country, but I didn't know it was that beautiful. And our guide was a photographer, so he knew the best spots to take us. And alpine meadows like you're in Switzerland, canyons like you're in Utah with red rocks, and it's just, and then horses everywhere, horses out in the countryside.
You share my passion for travel photography. What is it about travel photography you like? Why do you do it? You do it a lot.
It's the discovery. It's the learning about other cultures. It's finding out how beautiful other countries are, and there's beauty in everything. I mean, even some of the city shots that you wouldn't consider, as you said, beauty shots, but they give a story. They tell a story. In the end, that's probably the stories that I'm interested in. So yeah,
I also find as a photographer that I get in a rut. and going to a brand new place kind of kicks me in the head. Yeah, kicks me in the head.
It's same with me. I end up when I'm here, sometimes I have like a month of office work and stuff, and that is not very helpful when it comes to photography. So going out there, finding new places, exploring new places, it just keeps you on your toes, and it helps your photography. Doing photography helps photography.
It does. Who would have thought? And, you know, a lot of photographers do genres. So there's a genre of photography called kids photography, taking pictures of kids in their natural habitat. You're so good at that. But then right next to it, there's a beautiful shot of a bird, and wildlife photography. Next to that, it's a beautiful eagle. Now, do you use the same camera for everything? Oh yeah, and there's a falcon with his hood on. Do you?
Well, I'm still on my old, in quotes, old DSLRs. I'm still one of these people who need the mirror in the camera, at least for now. And so yeah, I do have my full frame mirror, my full frame DSLR, the 5D Mark IV by Canon, and then as a second camera, I have the 7D Mark II, which is also DSLR, and it's the APS-C crop factor, which is which helps more in the telephoto range. So usually I have a wide-angle lens on the 5D Mark IV. I have a telephoto lens on the 7D Mark II, and most of the time when I'm out, I have both with me, so I can switch back and forth.
Oh, you're one of those
quickly.
photographers who kind of wobbles because you have two big, heavy cameras strung to your neck.
It's not too bad.
I guess you get used to it.
Well, it's not too bad, and most of the time we had our own bus, so we got out of the bus and walked for, I don't know, a few minutes. So it wasn't a lot of heavy hiking, even though that can be done there as well. But this was about the photography. This was about seeing interesting things and learning about a new culture.
You know, the thing that I see when I look at your pictures is, besides their beauty, is that your technique is impeccable. And I think that that's another thing. It's very important for people who are getting new cameras, learning photography for the first time. You've got to perfect the technique before the artistry can come through. And so every one of these shots is beautiful. I mean, it's just technique is perfect.
You know, that's one of the reasons why I'm still with these cameras, because I know them inside out. I don't have to think when I use them. I can get my shots without having to try to find stuff in menus. My fingers know the camera. It's a lot of muscle memory there. And that just helps with the speed and with getting the shots that I want. So I don't like switching back and forth between brands all the time.
Yeah, it's my mistake. I do that constantly. That's my excuse anyway. We have an assignment. What's our assignment, Chris?
The current assignment is close-up, and I think we'll have it going for another week or two.
Okay, good. So take a close-up of something, upload it to our Tech Guy group on Flickr, flickr.com. It's free to join Flickr. It's a great site for posting your best work, or even not your best work, in my case. And then submit that to the group. Renee Silverman, the moderator, has all the rules there on the Tech Guy group. Most important, though, we want you to put the word TG close-up in the tags, so we'll know it's a submission. It's not a contest. It's just that Chris will look at all the pictures and pick 3 to talk about in a couple of weeks. Thank you, Chris. Welcome home. We missed you.
Thank you.
And man, I'll put the link in the show notes to Chris's website and look at his images from Kyrgyzstan. They are gorgeous. Leo Laporte, the Tech Guy. TTF. That's tips from the top floor. TTF.com/KG 2019. KG 2019. Really
KG.
gorgeous.
There's also the top level domain .kg.
Oh, nice. Really beautiful, beautiful images, and I love the variety.
Oh yeah, it was seriously mind-blowing how many different things. Sometimes, some days we had 10 photos, 10 distinctly different photo ops on one day.
Wow.
So it's,
Now, how much post did you put into these? Because you got them out pretty quick.
I did my usual thing, my workflow during the
love
tour.
your workflow.
So I ended up having them done. I spent another 2 hours while waiting, while having a layover in Istanbul.
I find that ends up being the most important thing, is to process them quickly.
It is, because otherwise they'll pile up. That's not good.
Yeah.
How much post did I put in them? Well, they're all in Lightroom. I typically fix the contrasts. In this case here, almost no color correction, because I've shot all those with fixed white balance, so there wasn't much to correct.
Looks great. Just stunning. And
some panoramas, some HDR.
Oh, there are a few panoramas. But not obvious. I don't see any obvious HDR. That's gorgeous.
No.
I love that.
Minimal HDR, just to tickle out a bit of detail in the clouds in some of the shots where the foreground was too dark.
I'm running through. Go ahead.
One thing I like is Lightroom's HDR panorama, which they can do now. So you shoot the tiles, but you bracket them. So you have, like, for 9 tiles, you have 27 pictures. And Lightroom can handle those in one go now. So
nice. You don't have to go out to Photoshop to do it anymore.
No, it's nice. Of course, it increases the amount of pictures. This time was excessive, because we had a few model shoots there with local models. We had a few eagles in flight shoots. That means also a lot of pictures, and in total I ended up with, in 2 weeks, 6,500 pictures. Which was crazy.
And the final calling, 95.
That's the ones that I'm showing here. In total, I think it's about 150 maybe. But
jeez.
Yeah.
Wow.
So.
Wow.
It was an intense tour. Wonderful, fun, lots to learn.
But this is good for people like me to hear that basically 1 in 40 shots was a keeper.
When I shoot digital, that's what happens. Yeah. When I shoot film, that's very different. It's a 50% keeper ratio usually.
Yeah, it's too expensive otherwise.
You put more thought into the individual photo.
Right.
Yeah, much more careful.
Yeah, I spray. So I made a big mistake when I was in Vegas last. I went to the Leica store.
Ouch.
And,
what happened?
Well, they came out with a new Leica Q.
How big is the damage?
Oh, it's pretty bad. They said, oh, yeah, the Q2 just came out. I said, oh, really? Oh. So I love my Leica Q so much. But, you inspire me. Looking at these with the 5D Mark IV, I have that. I have all the lenses. I should just shoot that.
Oh, the Q2 is nice, though.
Q2's got to be my street shooter, my fast, quick, and easy. All right, Chris,
that's what it is,
it's a pleasure. Thank you.
All right, talk to you again in a week.
All right, take care. Bye-bye.
Take care, bye.
Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Yeah? Really? Uh-huh. 8888, ask Leo. Maybe Kyrgyzstan? I don't know. Al in North Florida. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Hi, Al.
Hello, Leo.
How are you?
Happy Father's Day, and thank you for what you do.
Oh, and happy Father's Day to you, too.
Thank you.
It's a special day for us dads. It's the best thing I ever did. Love my kids. What can I do for you?
My problem is, you remember the series The Outer Limits?
Yeah. Have you lost control of the vertical?
Well, I have this thing called the Synaptics touchpad. Uninstall it, and it keeps reinstalling.
Well, you need it. That's your trackpad. Is it on a laptop?
It's on a laptop. I don't use the finger mouse. I use my regular Logitech mouse.
Yeah. Is it causing? It is the driver for that trackpad on your laptop. Even if you don't use it, it's going to install it. Is there some reason you don't want it to install?
It shuts down the system, brings it in. It goes to the blue screen. It shuts down, and
it's broken.
It reboots back up. So when I uninstall it, it comes right back. But it does solve the problem after I uninstall it.
Yeah, so it's a bad driver.
Yeah.
So I think
do
that what you can do, and I presume you're Windows 10, yes?
Yes.
Yes. If you hit Command X, or I'm not Command, Windows key X, that'll pull up the black menu on the Start menu that gives you the Device Manager. And you look at the Device Manager. I think you can disable the Synaptics, and it should. You've done this?
I disabled it through Device Manager.
Yeah.
But
it comes back?
It does the other limit on me.
You've lost control of the horizontal. You've lost control of the vertical. Now let me look at mine. Okay, so that's really frustrating. So you uninstall the device and you disable it, and Windows, in its infinite wisdom, says no. No. Maybe they do that because there are people who would accidentally disable it and then call me and say, my trackpad won't work. But Windows should listen to you. If it says I disable this device, it should not then attempt. You know what? One thing you might want to try to do. I mean, clearly it should not crash. What I think is happening, my best guess is that it's not really installing a new driver every time. It's just saying, oh, I have the driver right here. Let's just re-enable it. And what you really want to do is you want to get rid of that driver entirely. So if you go back into Device Manager and you right-click on the Synaptics trackpad, you'll get the properties. And if you go to the driver, you can actually delete it. Uninstalling the driver doesn't delete it. It merely uninstalls it, takes it out of the Device Manager. But you really want to get rid of it, like delete it entirely. And then if it does update it, it will download a new driver from Microsoft, and one hopes one that won't have the same problems. The other thing that you could do, who makes the laptop?
Toshiba.
And maybe this is the right thing to do, is to go to the Toshiba site and get the drivers, the official Toshiba drivers for that model. So you'll go to Toshiba, you'll go to the drivers section of their website. It'll say, what do you have? And you'll literally enter, there probably is a drop down, but you want to make sure you get that exact model. Look on the bottom of the computer, get the exact model, and then download and reinstall the motherboard drivers, whatever drivers they offer. They may offer the Synaptics drivers separately. They may not. Probably they will. Download that from them and install it manually. See if that fixes it. It shouldn't crash on you. You should.
Yeah, I looked at some of these updates on the dates of the update, and the one that we're talking about, the latest update they have goes back to 2016.
Yeah. I mean, and that's not unreasonable. I mean, it's just a trackpad. They probably don't have any reason to update it. It hasn't changed any. But just make sure you get the latest one from the Toshiba drivers page. Get it directly from Toshiba, and install it. And you can initially install it on top of, but if that doesn't work, then go back to that Device Manager, uninstall and remove the old driver files. You might have to manually remove them and then install it from the Toshiba page. The key, what you really want is that it doesn't crash. And I think that getting the right driver will stop the crash.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, I wish Windows would listen to you when you say just disable this thing, but it's doing the plug and play thing, or sometimes we call it plug and pray, where it goes out and says, well, let me see all the hardware on this machine. All right, let me go get all the drivers for it, let it install them. And it just won't let you disable it. I mean, it should. I'm surprised it doesn't. Maybe it is because they're worried about people,
Yeah, I installed it, and later on, Windows Update says I have, it sits there again to be updated.
Yeah, see, that's the problem, I think, yeah. Interesting. But that Windows Update driver is from 2016 also?
No, that was actually from a different website.
Okay.
But I'm looking at the Microsoft Update catalog, and I see that they have the Synaptics mouse, a download update driver.
Pretty much every laptop the trackpads use Synaptic drivers. Those are almost all made by Synaptic. So it may be that Microsoft is installing one that doesn't work with your laptop. That's why I'm saying go get it from Toshiba. And if you get it from Toshiba, it will be at least Toshiba's best guess as to what you need. That's why you want to make sure you match that model exactly. And Microsoft should defer. Microsoft, the plug-and-play should say, oh, yeah, he's got it. No problem. He's got the latest Toshiba driver, and not try to install what is obviously a broken driver. That's not so good. Lawn Dog's also saying that you may be able to, if there's a Toshiba control panel, which often I really wish they wouldn't do this, but laptop manufacturers frequently have their own dedicated control panel. I know my Lenovo does, the one I'm looking at right now. And you might go into that and see if you can disable the trackpad. That might be another way to disable this problem. That is just not good. It shouldn't be crashing. That's not good. Duke, Redondo Beach, California. Hi, Duke. Leo Laporte, the tech guy.
Hi, Leo. My question is, I've been running a business of cleaning and repairing all kinds of computers, and I'm getting out of business. And what I want to do is take a bunch of laptops and desktops that work, but I want to go through them and wipe out the hard drives. So
good idea. Good idea, yeah. So many people sell hard drives on eBay and other places, and they're not wiped, so all the data is still on there. I recommend Derek's Boot and Nuke. You could Google DBAN. If the machines are still running, that's the easiest way to do it. It will secure erase the contents of the drive so they can't be recovered. If they're SSDs, it's not going to work perfectly because of the wear leveling SSDs do. That's why I generally say when you're using SSDs, turn on full disk encryption before you install anything or write anything to the drive. That way you just, erase the encryption key and it's useless. But if sounds like they're older machines, so they'll be all spinning drives. DBAN is great. Of course, if you work for the government, in Great Britain, the protocol is you take apart the drive, you grind the platters in the drive to a fine dust, and then, even then, they store them in the basement. They don't let anybody get access to them. That's paranoia. I don't want to do that. No, DBAN's free, easy to use, and it does a great job.
Okay, now.
Hang on, because I got to take a break. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. More of your calls coming up right after this. Sorry, I just had to stop for the ads, but I'm still here, Duke. What was your other question?
Hello.
Still here. What can I do for you?
Okay, well, that would work on some of them, but half of them aren't running.
That's the harder one, yeah. If
I can plug them into one of my regular computers.
Yeah, that's the ideal way to do it, is just take them out of the machine that's not working, put it in the regular computer and wipe it. Otherwise, anything you do is potentially destructive to the actual drive. And, sometimes people run them over big magnets, degaussing magnets, but that can bend parts inside the drive and stuff like that. The best thing to do is to use DBAN. So if you could take it out of the non-working computer, attach it temporarily. You might have something like this because you were doing this for a living. Newer Tech makes a little $30 or $40 dongle that lets you take any computer, any drive out of any computer, and attach it via USB to a working computer, and you can use that. That makes it very easy.
Okay, what is that again?
It's from a company called Newer Tech, NEWERTECH.com, and they call it the Universal Drive Adapter. And what it is just a piece of plastic that has all the different connectors for all different kinds of drives, plus power. And on the other end, it has a USB plug. So you just plug it into the USB port on a laptop or whatever, and you can run DBAN on it from there.
Okay, so I need DBAN anyway.
DBAN is the tool, yeah, because what Derek's Boot and Nuke does is overwrites the drive. And you don't need to do this 20 times. Once is enough. Just overwrites it so you can use the lowest level erasure with ones and zeros. Erases, overwrites it with ones, and erases again. And that's sufficient. DBAN.
So all I have to do is connect that to my main computer.
Yep.
And then take the hard drives out of the other computers and just attach them any way I can.
Exactly. And so you can do this very quickly.
Okay. If I can't get a DBNA quickly and I want to do a couple of them real quick, do I just take them out and put them in and reformat them?
Yeah, formatting does not erase a drive, unfortunately, because all it does is say, let's write a new catalog and say the drive is usable. All the data is still there.
Yeah.
So that's why we use DBAN, because formatting doesn't do it.
Gotcha.
Windows has a secure file deletion utility in it. You have the latest version of Windows 10 on one of these machines?
Yes.
Let me just see if there's secure delete for a whole disk, because that's what you really want.
Yeah, that's what I really want.
Yeah, and it might be. Yeah, no, it doesn't look like. They just have. You can in the trash can in Windows, you can say securely erase, but I don't think they have a command to do the whole. The whole drive, because that's what and that's why everybody. Now, Microsoft does offer a program called S-Delete. It's part of the Mark Rusinovich's sysinternals package, S-Delete. But DBAN's free, widely, everybody uses it, DBAN. And I think that's kind of the standard way to do this.
DBAN.
DBAN, Derek's Boot and Nuke.
And Nuke.
Yeah, dban.org.
Okay, I want to appreciate that because I hate to let some of these people's computers who gave them to me over the years, and
absolutely.
Yeah.
There's, people, every once in a while somebody do a study, they'll buy drives off of eBay. Last time I saw this, there were drives from old ATM machines that still had every transaction, every ATM card number. Everything was still on it.
Oh, boy.
Can you believe that? So thank you for being a responsible computer tech. That's great.
Okay, I want to thank you for your help, and I listen to you all the time, and you've been great news. By the way, one thing I got to tell you about carbonite, if I may.
Yes.
I was setting up 4 different dental offices with both wired and wireless, and the wireless was really something because the walls were lined with lead.
Oh, nice. Yeah, because of X-ray machines. Sure, yeah.
Yeah. But anyway, what happened was I originally started out with the first guy, and he had 7 different rooms, and I wanted to use carbonite to back him up. He didn't have any backups at all, nothing. And when I did, I found out something that really had a problem with carbonite, and that is they will not back up blank files.
Why would you want to back up blank files?
Well, that's a good question. The dental program he used, which was Dentisoft, was a thing that recorded all the X-rays and all those other good things, and then they would be able to send them to the insurance companies to get paid because the insurance companies would lose them if you just sent the X-rays, and he ended up, it's really bad. He ended up having to pay a company 1% of what he got from the insurance companies for him to hand deliver them and get a handshake back till he got paid.
Yikes.
That's terrible. But anyway, what happens in that program, it's got a bunch of, what would I say, extra files sitting out there and be involved in itself that are blank until it gets enough stuff from something to put in there, and so
that's terrible. That's a terrible way to do it.
I know, and so I went to.
That's interesting. I had no idea carbonite would look at the size of the file and say, "Well, that's a zero length file. I'm not going to save
even though
that."
It was blank. It was a file, but it didn't have anything in it. And anyway, I don't want to screw up your company and carbonite because I've had to use it for other people, and it's been outstanding and also saved a lot of grief.
Well, that's a good thing to know. I mean, I could see why they might not. I mean, they should record the directory structure, which would be sufficient for a zero-length file to restore it. But that's interesting they don't.
Yeah, and I talked to them about this, and they didn't have an answer. They
said, "I don't know." I don't know.
Anyway, but I don't want to.
Really? It doesn't?
I don't want to not carbonite, but it would take a special company like this that had a special need to do this.
It's an unusual workaround.
Terrible. Yeah. Anyway, I want to thank you very much.
My pleasure, Duke. Nice to talk to you.
Happy Father's Day.
Happy Father's Day, sir.
Yeah.
Well, hey. How are you today? Leo Laporte here, the tech guy. Time to talk computers, the internet, home theater, digital photography, smartphones, smart watches, augmented reality, virtual reality, real reality. 8888 Ask Leo. That's the phone number. If you want to talk about gadgets, technology, the internet, anything with a chip in it, I'm your man. 888-827-5536. Website is techguylabs.com. That's free and available and 24/7 for anybody. No sign up needed, and all the information, everything I talk about, all the links will all be there. Thanks to James DeRuvo, who's writing it down as I talk. And it's, I plan it to be a resource that lasts forever. Already 1,600 radio shows there. What is that? 5,000 hours of content up there, audio and video. So you can go there, you can watch a show, listen to a show, you can read the text, read the answers, and you can leave your thoughts. That's important. If you've got a better way or an idea, please use the comment section. We divide the website into pages, one page per show, and then each show is then subdivided into hours, hour 1, 2, and 3, and then each hour divided into segments or calls. And that way you can go right to the call you want and say, Leo, that's crazy talk. What you should be doing is this. And I think that you're not doing that for me. You're doing it for everybody. It adds value for everybody. So I thank you for doing that. TechGuyLabs.com. Gary, Southern California. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Hi, Gary.
Hi, Leo. Thanks for taking my call.
My pleasure.
Hey, just looking for a little clarity. I recently got a offer from Spectrum TV to move over to their new internet, and I come to find out I think that they're actually using the at&t network.
Yeah,
and that started me thinking. You've got Cricket, and you've got a lot of other things out there. T-Mobile, who I understand is going to merge with Sprint. So here's my question. How many of these outfits are really using somebody else's network? Are there just like the major three? Or
yeah, there's the big four, but there's even more than that. So Verizon, at&t, Sprint, and T-Mobile all have their own cell network. But it's a little more complicated than that. In fact, there are maps online of the internet topology. And what you'll notice is that there are big, fat, cross-country pipes, backhauls. They call them the backbone of the internet. And they're run by a variety of companies. Sprint runs a bunch of them. at&t runs a bunch of them. And your traffic often is riding on there as well. So it is kind of a misnomer to say, well, Verizon handles it all. It only handles the cell tower, from your phone to the cell tower, and then from the cell tower to their office. But at that point, it might be riding on Sprint as it goes across country. It's much more complicated. The topology of the internet is really very, very complicated. There's big interconnects in major metropolitan regions where all of the big pipes kind of join together, and then it's more complicated than I can describe. And in fact, if you ever they print out maps of this internet topology. They make some beautiful maps, lots of colors, lots of pretty pictures, but it's impossible to say if you're on at&t, say, or Verizon or Spectrum, that all of the traffic is running over that network. It's not. It's going to be that network. Sometimes we use the phrase the last mile. Who owns the last mile? In the case of, it sounds like what you just described, Spectrum in your area, this is not true everywhere, but in your area is running off of at&t's phone lines, which is unusual. Typically, a cable company will have its own cable system. They own the cable in the ground. That's why they often have local monopolies, because it's so expensive to put in. But that's just the last mile. When it gets back to the office and then off into the internet, who knows what it's running on?
Okay, it's kind of a follow-up on that then.
Sure.
I've seen maps of coverage, and some of them have good coverage.
No, those are all genial lies.
Okay.
They're not, I wouldn't say they're outright lies, but coverage maps are to be taken with a grain of salt.
Okay. One final question, if I can. I happen to be fortunate enough to buy a new car, and, it's an Audi. And my subscription to their Audi Connect ran out, and I just am wondering, it says it has an embedded chip in the car.
Yeah.
Do you know if there's a way to get around that?
Yeah, I think there is. So Audi, as many manufacturers now, come with 3G connectivity. But I think, at least in my old Audi, and you should check and see in your new Audi, there was a little flap under the radio there, which you open up, and there's a SIM card in a slot there. Check to see, because if there is, I think you could put some other SIM in there. You could buy 3G connectivity from somebody else. Would it work with MMI, Audio's multimedia interface? I don't know. Probably not. Maybe it would. I don't know. But yeah, I didn't continue that subscription because I didn't find it that useful. It is nice to have the maps updated because they use Google Maps, and so if you do have connectivity, those maps will always be up to date. But remember your last car, if it had GPS, those maps were never updated. Right? From the day you bought the car to the day you traded it in, they were never updated. And we lived, we survived.
Okay. Well, appreciate you taking my call.
My pleasure.
For your show.
Yeah. Somebody's pointing out when you're talking about Spectrum that in this case, it's Spectrum's wireless service. It's their phone service. Is that right?
Well, yes. And my understanding is, interestingly enough, when it first came out, they were talking about $14 a gig. And like $45 for unlimited. Yeah. And I contacted them, and they said, "Oh no, but you have to buy one of our phones because we have a proprietary situation where it'll switch over to, the Spectrum Wi-Fi as opposed to AT&T." Yeah.
So Comcast is doing this as well because they're cable providers, and what they do is they build into their cable modems open Wi-Fi access points, and they're hoping you'll use that more. Then they don't have to pay for it. So what they're doing is called an MVNO, a mobile virtual network operator. There are lots of these. Mint Mobile. There are a lot of them where they lease data from the big companies, AT&T, Sprint. Sprint's very popular for these, T-Mobile and Verizon, and they rebrand it. And they pay a wholesale rate so they can offer you a better rate. But yes, what they really want in the case of Spectrum and Comcast, Xfinity, is that most of the time you'll be within reach of one of their open Wi-Fi access points because that bandwidth's really cheap for them. That's why you have to use a special phone.
Okay. Appreciate your thoughts.
My pleasure. Thanks for calling. There are a lot of places you can look at internet topology and internet topology maps. I'm trying to remember who I bought my map from. There's a website that I kind of like called the Internet Topology Zoo. It's from the University of Adelaide in Australia. Topology-zoo.org. And if you're interested, they have a gallery of backbones and connectivity, and you could see where all the networks go through, and it's pretty cool just to see how complicated this is. Remember, the whole premise of the internet when it was proposed was we want to make a network that is robust, that has multiple ways of getting data around in case of an atomic war. So that if a bomb blast destroys Topeka, the data can route around it and still be used. Now, the fathers of the internet later admitted that was just a story we told Congress to get funding. Because honestly, if there's a nuclear bomb, it's all over anyway. But it is very robust. It does route around trouble, around errors, and so that means the topology is very complicated. There are virtually an infinite number of ways your email can get from your computer to your friend's computer, many of them traveling all over the world. And so if you look at an internet topology map and you look at the backbones and the big interconnects and stuff, you'll see, wow, this is pretty sophisticated. It's really remarkable. It's I honestly think the internet is one of the great inventions of the ages, and it's certainly changed our life. We take it for granted now. It's, you're in an airplane and you can't get Wi-Fi. It's like, what is going on? I can't sit in this plane without Wi-Fi. What is going on? We are so spoiled. And yet, if you understand what's going on in this magical thing called the internet, it's remarkable it works at all. And thank goodness those amazing people in the 60s and 70s and 80s, many of them working for the Defense Department, created this thing because it's changed the world. I just saw a story that said if GPS went down, remember the GPS system is also a very fragile system based on satellites. If it went down for some reason, the cost would be about $1 billion a day in lost business. $1 billion a day in lost business. we become hyper reliant upon these systems. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. It's kind of ironic. Last show I was talking about a story in the New York Times that the United States is starting to embed malware into the power grid in Russia, as Russia does much the same thing to our power grid. The future Cold War is a cyber war. I was talking about that yesterday and just wondering what would it be like if the power went out in the United States due to an attack by the Russians. And we know, that, by the way, that our electrical grid is infested with Russian malware. Could we withstand a day? Sure. A week? A month without electrical power in the United States? Chaos. It would be more effective than a nuclear bomb. Chaos. And what scares me is that we're doing the same thing to them. Instead of getting together and saying, let's not do this. Let's compete in other ways. Let's not do this particular thing. No, we're just ramping up. I talked about it yesterday. Last night, the power went out in Argentina and Paraguay. Apparently, these two South American countries have an attached grid. We've seen power outages like this before. Did I say Paraguay? Uruguay. Sorry. We've seen power outages like this before in the United States with a cascading failure. They think that's what is happening, that the hydroelectric dam in Argentina, Yacyretá hydroelectric dam, Yacyretá, was failed, and then there was a cascading failure across the country and over into Uruguay as well. But I have to say it's a little suspicious because it happened during a national election day in Argentina. The Argentinian energy minister says, we're not ruling out any possibility. We don't think it's a cyber attack. We know that Russia has done something similar in Ukraine. It's widely considered that Ukraine is a place where Russia tests out its cyber weaponry, and that the power has been brought down a couple of times in Ukraine, we think, by Russian cyber weapons. Yikes. Modern civilized life is about interconnection, right? We're all mutually dependent on one another, and increasingly mutually dependent on systems that are complicated, we don't fully understand, and we aren't protecting. Maybe we should think about that. Steve, Nashville, Tennessee. Leo Laporte, the tech guy.
Well, good afternoon, Leo.
Hi, Steve.
Listening to your last caller.
Yes.
Talking about the spectrum and the wireless service. Yeah. I here in Nashville, we have Comcast, and I had gone out and bought and unlocked unlocked iPhone 7 from the Apple store, and went down to Comcast, got a SIM card because I have their Xfinity X1, and it's supposed to be free for voice and data. Or voice and text, and then so much for gigs. Anyway, it's on the Verizon backbone here.
Interesting.
And the most I could get was 3G. The phone
that's terrible. No LTE at all?
None. No. And this is on an iPhone 7. I called Comcast and said, "Well, there's nothing we can do about it." And it was 3G it's on Verizon's backbone, and the throughput was absolutely horrendous. It was unusable.
Yeah.
And the call quality was all watery and it was just nasty. And I tried it all over town.
Really? Xfinity cell service not so good, huh? Who would have thought that?
No. Yeah, exactly. It's like, wow. And it's like, well, if you have or whatever, you can give up 5 lines free. It's like, you mean you're going to actually give me something? Oh, there's got to be a catch.
Who would have thought that? The great Comcast couldn't do a cell phone service, huh?
Oh, no way.
Well, thank you for the report, because I've been looking, they're advertising it like crazy. I honestly am not tempted. I am a Comcast customer because they have a monopoly in our area.
Same here.
Yeah. But I feel like the last thing I want to do is give them more monopoly by using their cell phone service. You've just confirmed my instinct.
You would absolutely hate their cell phone service. It is the most atrocious thing I'd ever seen.
That's depressing.
I had faster speeds when I had my Motorola Q in 2008, and I'd unlocked it, and I was using AT&T. You plug it into the USB port, just use it as a local area connection number 2.
So it sounds like, Verizon is good. I have a Verizon phone, and their connectivity is good, and their LTE is fast, and I'm sure it is where you are in Nashville. But
yeah, absolutely.
But probably Comcast, when they are buying their wholesale data, isn't buying the best, right?
They can't. I didn't even know Verizon still offered 3G. I thought they phased it out.
What happens a lot of times with MVNOs, and that's what Xfinity is in this case, a mobile virtual network operator, is the Verizon sells them data, but deprioritizes those customers. So if you're on a cell site that Verizon customers are using, they'll have access to the full throughput of the site. And if if it's congested, then they're going to downgrade your access. And I bet you that's what's happening.
Comcast and said, I think you missed one Dixie cup and a string. I didn't get the whole package here.
Well, and of course, Comcast, just like Spectrum, is really hoping you won't use that expensive Verizon service, that you'll be close to an Xfinity access point. I know in our little town here, which is a Comcast network market, everywhere I go, there's an Xfinity access point. I actually had to disable that on my phone because it would automatically join these Xfinity Wi-Fi spots, and about half the time there was no internet connectivity at all. It was just sitting there.
Exactly. Got one at the place I live at. There's one I get a good signal on, and there's nothing there.
There's nothing there. 5 bars of nothing.
One time, riding down the road in the car, connected to an Xfinity hotspot, had great internet for 4 blocks, and then ping, gone, then it was back to Verizon.
Yeah, because you're getting it from a residential customer. I think a lot of people don't know, if you have Xfinity as your internet service provider, they give you a modem router. I don't use theirs, but if they give you theirs, they automatically turn on this access point that others can use. Doesn't cost you anything, doesn't use your bandwidth theoretically, but still, I don't like it. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Well, I'm glad. Thank you for the review. I wasn't too tempted, to be honest.
No. Well, I thought, what the heck? Because I had AT&T.
Yeah.
My contract had been up.
Yeah.
I had a 6S Plus.
Why not?
The battery had swelled up on, and I thought it's time for a new phone. I'll just go get an unlocked iPhone 7 because I didn't want to pay the money for an 8 and the 10 hours. Like, that's too rich for my blood. And so I thought, well, I'll go get a 7. And then I thought, well, I'm not tied to any carrier. Let's go try this Comcast thing. It's free. Stick the card in there, and the service and the call quality was like, I was really underwater. Like, would you like fried? And the data, like, I could send a text message faster with Morse code, for Christ's sake. It was horrible.
Well, good. I'm now no longer tempted in the least. Not that I ever was.
Don't be tempted. They do use Verizon, at least here in Nashville, and I'm thinking that's pretty much everywhere. But it's
Verizon's good pretty much everywhere, yeah.
They're leftovers.
I have Verizon, T-Mobile, and Google Fi, and AT&T. Oh, yeah. The only one I don't have is Sprint because I have never had good results in our area from Sprint.
Here either. I went back to AT&T is where I did.
Yeah. Yeah, I think AT&T is very good. Yeah.
Yep.
But it is regional. It is regional. If you're in Kansas City, Sprint's fantastic. It's just regional. And
that ought to be. That's their home office.
Yes, that's why I say that. It's Southern Pacific. Hey, it's great to talk to you. Thanks, Steve.
Hey, you too.
Take care.
All right, thank you. Bye-bye.
Probably, by the way, Mike B., that's why Xfinity works so well where you are, because if it's riding on Verizon, Verizon's very good in New Jersey. It's the old 9X. So that's probably why it's so good there. They have, I'm sure, a lot of cell sites, a lot of connectivity. Maybe not the case in Nashville. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Always searching for something to say. 88, actually, it's not that hard. I just say 8888 Ask Leo, and you call, and then you say something. Stephen in San Antonio, Texas. Hi, Stephen.
Hey, how's it going?
It's great. How are you? Happy Father's Day.
Pretty good.
Thank you.
Pretty good. My family's coming over.
Nice.
But before I ask my question, the lady that's going to Vietnam and Cambodia, a lot of the newer hotels, because I've been going to Cambodia since 95 when Pol Pot and Khmer Rouge was alive.
Holy cow. Were you there working for the government?
No, I have an ex-wife.
Who was Cambodian?
Yeah.
Ah, okay.
So anyway, I've watched that city grow.
Yeah.
From no tall buildings to nothing but.
It's amazing, isn't it?
Yeah. But a lot of the newer places have just regular outlets, but I still would take one. And since she's an artist, everybody goes to Angkor Wat. I've been there several times.
Oh, I can't wait. Yeah.
Well, somebody was unlucky, but an incident happened the night before we went. So when we got to Siem Reap, it was empty, and Angkor Wat was empty, so I was able to take pictures of the temples without millions of
Oh, how nice.
And then for your guy with the keypad, with the finger keypad problem,
Yeah.
you can disable that keypad in BIOS. If it goes into BIOS, you can disable it.
Of course, in BIOS. Why didn't I think of that? I was focused on Windows. You're right. If he goes into setup, there will be almost certainly a way to disable that trackpad, of course. What was I thinking?
So,
thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Now, my problem is sort of, I moved to Texas last year, but I lived in California, and I was maybe 7 or 8 times a year I would go to Yosemite. So one day we were camping, and I got up early in the morning, got into the Merced River to take a picture. Down in Wawona.
Yeah.
And the rock that was supposed to be steady wasn't, and I fell in.
Oh, no.
So that was a 1D Mark. That was just a 1DX.
Oh, man, that's an expensive camera to get wet. It is weatherproof. Did it survive?
Yeah, well, it did. But
weatherproof doesn't mean waterproof, of course.
No.
Yeah.
2 hours after I fell in, I got a picture, and it was foggy, but I was able to clean it up in post.
Okay.
Okay? But then it just was working. And so I sent it. So when I got back, I took beautiful pictures at Yosemite, no problem. So I got back, sent it to Canon, and they wanted to fix it for $1,800. Well, okay, what do I want to do? $1,800 to fix this, or add another $2,000 or $3,000, whatever it was?
Yeah, they're
get the Mark II.
Yeah, the Mark II is like $5,500. So
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, they give me for the lens and the camera. I got $3,600.
Nice.
So the Mark I.
Are you a professional photographer?
No.
That's a pretty fancy kit for an amateur. That's a state-of-the-art camera there.
I've been retired for almost 10 years now, and I travel all around.
I love that camera.
So, yeah, me too. So I've got that camera, nothing, and I'm not going to go into any water or anything. But I'd like to have a backup camera, which I kind of do. I have the 5D Mark III.
Okay.
And then I have the 1DX, and then I have the 1D Mark III.
So the advantage of all of this is that the lenses, the Canon lenses that you use, work on all the three bodies, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Now I like full frame.
Yep.
So do I just keep the cameras I have, or it'll cost me $1,800 to fix the 1D?
What's wrong with it? What's wrong with it?
I'm sorry. The autofocus just quit working.
Oh. Probably, that sounds like an electronic failure, although there is a sensor, but I would bet it's that some circuit board got fried. And,
all my lens.
Yeah, your lenses are your investment. Your glass is your investment. And if you really love that camera, the Mark II is better in many ways. Gosh, I would fix it. If it were me, I would fix it.
Okay.
But it's it's your money. But I think it's worth fixing. That's a pro grade, very high grade camera. The Mark II has additional features. Depends how serious you are. You have a pretty good set there. My problem is I have gas.
Yeah.
You say yeah as if like, oh yeah, I know how that is. Gas stands for gear acquisition syndrome. If you ask me, I will say, well, yeah, buy a new one, buy another new one, buy 3 more new ones, get more. And have you ever tried Sony or Nikon? I know you don't have to be rich to have gas. It's just it's just a bad habit. It's just a bad habit. And then so you're asking the wrong guy, because I would say, well, yeah, you want the new one, but $5,500.
I got the new one. Yeah.
Oh well, then. Oh, I get it. So this is just a backup. Yeah, if you already got the new one, you don't need the old one fixed.
Oh, now how do I get rid of it?
You could sell it on eBay, probably for $1,000. Because if you tell somebody, if you include the quote to get it back up to spec, then somebody's getting a $5,000 camera for half price.
That's not a bad idea. So I'm not like Chris, but everybody likes my pictures. I take pictures all around.
Oh, it's a
the world.
great hobby. I can't wait to retire so I can take pictures all the time. I love it.
I mean, I got the moonbow in Yosemite. I've got the firefalls, and I love Yosemite during the winter.
I think I love photography because I work in audio all the time. I don't work in a visual medium, so it's exactly the opposite what I do for a living, and I think it stretches my brain in another direction, like silly putty. I think that's a good thing for me. Well, keep up the photography. What a wonderful hobby to have.
Yeah.
Do you have a website where you share your images?
No, everybody wants. I just post them on Facebook.
That's fine.
And I don't even care how many likes I got.
That's fine. Nowadays, thanks to social media and places like Facebook, but also Instagram and Flickr, and there are so many great places. You don't have to be. Just share your photos, and it's a way for you to share your art, your vision, your eye, and get a little, maybe you don't care about likes, but I think it's nice to have a little positive feedback now and again. Somebody say thank you for that.
No, there's also, I think it's Gun Guru or something like that I just became, someone invited me, and there's 500 pics. So, and then it's Ugly Hedgehog.
I don't know that one. I know 500px, which is great.
Yeah.
I post my stuff on SmugMug, but I'm not good enough to have a 1DX. That's it's too good a camera for me.
Just take pictures, okay? But no, the Ugly Hedgehog is a forum from anybody from mom and pop all the way to pros.
Oh.
And you can ask the question, and it's just a forum where everybody.
Oh, I'm joining it. I'm looking at it right now. It's a photography forum. Ugly. What a great name. By the way, registered trademark. uglyhedgehog.com. That's a crazy name. And they have a picture on the front page of an ugly hedgehog, except that's a bison. So maybe they think it's a hedgehog and they just don't know that that's how bison are supposed to look. It's a beautiful bison, but it would make an ugly hedgehog, I guess. Anyway, nice to talk to you. Keep taking the good pictures, Stephen. I think that's fantastic. And yeah, sell it on eBay. There'll be a market, especially since you know how much it's going to cost to get it back to new. I tell you, I'll buy it. That would be a good price for a 1DX, even the first generation. 8888 Ask Leo. One more segment to go. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Stay right here. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. 8888 Ask Leo. That's the phone number. A few more minutes. Let's see how many calls I can get through here. Starting with Barb in Rancho Mirage. Thanks for hanging on, Barb.
Hey, Leo. Thank you very much.
My pleasure. Thanks for calling.
I took your advice, and I've got me a Chromebook.
Oh, nice. Good.
I love it.
Good.
HD 1080, and I love it, love it.
Nice.
But do they not have screensavers?
No, and you don't need a screensaver. It'll go to sleep. I don't know if they have screensavers. I've never seen a screensaver on it. Screensavers were necessary when we used to have tube monitors. Remember those old tube monitors, CRTs? Because the phosphors would get burnt in, and so you had to put something, either have the screen go dark, but LCDs don't get burnt in. So I think their expectation, and I think this is true of all laptops, although Windows does offer screensavers, as does Macintosh, but mostly what their expectation is, you will either close it or let the power saving mode just turn off the screen after 15 minutes or half an hour or whatever.
Yeah. I have been searching and searching.
I'm sorry. I don't think there is screensaver. And the reason is it doesn't have programs, right? You understand? It's really just a browser. So that's a really interesting question. Nobody's ever asked about that.
Well,
and I like screensavers.
Yeah, I do too. And I usually have my photos, on my laptop, my Windows laptop, and I just have photos rotating, which are fun.
Well, so what you could do that would give you that effect is add a Chrome extension to your browser. There are a number of them. I'm looking at one called Photo Screensaver, and while after a while the screen is still on, it'll show your photos.
What?
It's an extension for the Chrome browser called Photo Screensaver.
Where do I get that?
So you go to the menu for your Chrome browser, and you go to More Tools, and then there's an Extensions menu item, and you're going to want to go to the Extensions store. You can actually just surf to chrome.google.com and go to the Chrome web store, and then type in Screensaver as a search, and you'll see there are a number of Chrome extensions. There's one that's called Photo Screensaver that looks like it'll take the photos from your, Google Photos album and put them up on the screen. It's not to save the screen. It's just a slideshow.
Right.
Because your screen doesn't need to be saved. It's already been saved. But it's born again. But it's nice to have. I know what you mean. In fact, I have a number of devices, including my Android TV, my Apple TV, and one of those little Nest Home Hubs, those little screen Google Assistant devices. And I like the slideshows in there because it's, I have a lot of pictures in Google Photos, and it's fun to see them.
It is.
Yeah,
it is.
I completely understand what.
And I have a picture frame that does that.
Yeah, exactly. So this could turn your Chromebook into that. And what you'll do is you'll go into the power settings as well to make sure that it doesn't turn off the screen for a longer period of time because you want to see your pictures.
Yeah, I'll be darned. Well, then
I will too, because nobody's ever asked me that. I think that's a great question.
Well, good.
Yeah.
And also, my laptop, I have a Lenovo. Just recently, it started like blinking. All of a sudden, just like.
Is it so? It's flickering a little bit.
Yeah.
Is it going off all the way or just flickering?
No, just flickering.
Yeah.
What's that?
It could be a number of things. Some of them serious, some of them not. I'll tell you the serious thing that happens to a lot of laptops. Every time you close the screen, there's a ribbon cable that leads from the base of the laptop into the screen. That's the connector. It's like your monitor cable. Okay. And it gets, every time you close it and open it, it's getting bent and unbent, bent and unbent. And on a lot of computers, that's a problem after some time, that cable gets damaged. And that's almost, I'm not going to say certainly, but it's certainly the most likely reason for that flickering. Here's the good news. It's not an expensive part to replace if that's what's wrong.
Oh.
You can go in, you need to find a Lenovo repair. And by the way, Lenovo has lots of repair depots all over. So I would just go online at Lenovo's website and say, I want a repair depot that's near Rancho Mirage. And you can bring it in or you can have them come get it. And typically it won't be a huge expense. They have to take it apart. So that's a little bit of the expense. There's some labor involved. But the part itself is 10 cents. Well, it should be 10 cents. They'll probably charge you more than that.
100.
It's just, they'll probably charge you 100 because it's just a little cable. But that's very common in laptops, and it can often cause screen flickering. It could be something simpler too, but honestly, bringing it into them is probably the only way to figure out what it is.
What would be the simpler one thing?
Well, it could be a software issue, but figuring that out means that you've got to kind of reinstall software, uninstall software. It could be. I think it's almost certainly that this is a common thing on laptops. How old is the laptop?
I would say maybe 3.
That's pretty young.
3 and a half.
That's a pretty new laptop. That seems unlikely. Do you open it and close it a lot?
No, that's what's weird.
Okay, then maybe that's not it. Although even that cable can just shake loose a little bit. So
okay,
could be a failing power supply. It could be. There's an ambient screen sensor on that. You might play with this. We had a caller yesterday saying their Amazon Echo Spot was flickering, and it turned out the answer to that was turn off adaptive screen dimming and just turn the brightness down a little bit. So try playing with the brightness a little bit on the screen and see if that fixes it.
Oh, yeah, because I usually have it cranked up.
Yeah, maybe turn it down and see if it goes away. But I bet you it's the ribbon cable.
Yeah, and I have a dispute also about the power grid going out for a day.
Yes.
Not here in Rancho Mirage.
Why not? You got hamsters in the basement?
114 degrees.
I know. I know.
110.
Think about that.
One day, we couldn't do it. No.
I know.
One time I had to do it for 3.5 hours.
And I don't think we take seriously enough how fragile our power infrastructure is. PG&E in California is going to be doing 48-hour rolling blackouts because of the fire danger up here in Northern California. Remember, we had some very bad fires. I bet you down your way, too.
Well, so far, I think they kind of...
Did you get the email? I got the email yesterday saying your power may be out for as long as 2 days.
No, not here.
My whole refrigerator it would be terrible.
Well, we wouldn't be able to live.
I think it's revenge because they're getting sued for these fires.
Well, we're on Edison, so we're not on...
Oh, you don't have to worry.
Yeah.
Because Edison never will fail you.
Yeah. Really?
No, I made that up. I just want you to be reassured. I don't want you to feel worried, Barb. No worries. There's no point in worrying.
Well, I'll come to Petaluma if the power goes.
Good. Yeah.
Okay, dear.
Thank you, Barb. Take care. My pleasure. Nice to talk to you. One more. Let's see if I can get one more in here before I have to run. Ben in Santa Barbara, Leo Laporte, the tech guy.
Hi, Leo.
Hi, Ben. What can I do for you?
Okay. I've been listening to your podcast, all of them, every week.
Bless you. TWIT.tv is the website. This Week in Tech.
Right.
Twit.tv.
I'm also a technician here in Santa Barbara. I've been working on Macs and PCs for 25 years.
Where did you come from? The islands originally, Ben?
No.
No? It sounds like you have a little lilt in your accent.
Yeah, I do. I'm Persian.
Persian. It's beautiful. I love it. Can you hang on a second? Because we're running out of time, and thanks to Big Pee Wee, our musical director, who's spinning the discs today. Thanks to our fabulous Kim Schaffer, who not only takes no Schaffer, but gives no Schaffer when she answers the phones. Thanks to all of you for joining me. I couldn't do this show without you. Would you come back next time and we can talk some more? All right. And Ben, hang on. I'm gonna talk to you off the air. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Have a great Geek Week and happy Father's Day, dads. Sorry, Ben. I ran right out of time there, but I'm glad to help you on the podcast.
No problem.
So
the problem I'm having
yes.
Since the Macintosh Sierra, a lot of my clients complaining about the system taking huge amount of space. Have you run into that yet?
On the hard drive?
On the hard drive, yeah.
Apple has a little bit of a problem, certainly on the iPhones, with temporary storage, using up an extreme amount of temporary storage. I wonder if that's the problem. There's a really great program that you can use on Mac OS to see what's using up space on the hard drive.
I use that, actually, yes.
Oh, so you already know about it.
Yeah, but
can it tell you what's using space? Is it temporary files? Is it?
No, it's just a system. That's all it's.
Just the system.
Yeah, and then I'm looking at this computer I'm working on right now. It has a Sierra. The hard drive is solid state, 239. The system taking 152 gigs.
What? So that's that's almost certainly either temp files or cache. So that's interesting. I haven't seen that problem. I'm running Mojave now on my Macs.
Mm-hmm.
That does seem like an awful lot of storage.
Yeah, and I've come across these probably 4 times now, and I've done all.
Is it only on High Sierra?
No, Mojave as well.
Oh my.
Yeah, and a lot of people are saying it's a time machine problem, but
you should never have time machine pointing to your local drive, your system drive, right?
Correct. Yes.
So I'm looking at it here that. So you've looked at the managed storage option. Oh, I see. Yeah. Okay. They're saying it's time machine. So. Okay. So wow. Okay. Apparently, Time Machine, even if it's recording to another drive, will store snapshots locally. You know about this.
Right.
So there is a command line utility on Mac OS called TMUtil for Time Machine Util.
Yeah.
you can use it to list local snapshots and delete them if you want.
Correct.
So you know about this.
Yeah, I've done just about everything,
And that did not help.
I worked on. Nope. The last computer I worked on, I got so frustrated, so I just backed it up, erased it, and reinstalled everything.
Yeah, that'll fix it, right? Because whatever.
Fix it, yeah.
Yeah, so that tells me it is some sort of temporary storage or cache storage.
Yeah.
I'm looking at a Stack Exchange question about this. They mention the time machine issue, but then they also say there is a cache temporary system folder which can get full as well. Normally on a Macintosh, they have cron jobs running that delete these cache files, these super large log files, all that stuff automatically. But I think sometimes they don't run for a variety of reasons. So
is that because of they changed their format? Hard drive format?
It shouldn't be. In fact, APFS, their new format, should be more robust and less prone to this. But maybe. So
is it showing on your Mac?
So look at this directory. It's /private/var, VAR, /folders, /W3. At least one person in this Stack Exchange post says that's a giant folder on some systems, a giant temporary folder. I guess you could delete the data in there. It's risky to delete temp files. I don't, that's I don't know off the top of my head. This is a new one. Let me, Ben. Let me check around.
Okay.
I'll ask Renee on MacBreak Weekly. You listen to MacBreak Weekly?
Every week.
All right. We'll talk about it on Tuesday. I'll ask Renee. He might know.
Awesome.
Ben, I appreciate your listening and calling.
No problem. Thank you.
All right. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Well, that's it for the Tech Guy Show for today. Thank you so much for being here. And don't forget, TWIT, T-W-I-T. It stands for This Week in Tech, and you'll find it at twit.tv, including the podcasts for this show. We talk about Windows on Windows Weekly, Macintosh on MacBreak Weekly, iPads, iPhones, Apple Watches on iOS Today, security on Security Now. I mean, I can go on and on and on. And, of course, the big show every Sunday afternoon, This Week in Tech. You'll find it all at twit.tv. And I'll be back next week with another great Tech Guys show. Thanks for joining me. We'll see you next time.